so that's a kind of a short introduction to where I'm coming from. We have a sister lab in Kenya, in Nairobi, who are doing exactly the same kinds of things, except from a sub-Saharan Africa point of view. So that's maybe relevant to mention. Right, so just to go, can you still see the image? I guess you can. So just to kind of like briefly give you kind of an example of the type of research that we have been doing. So I think one of the overarching themes in our research has been to look at the kind of combination of mobility and location-specific information. It's been a kind of a location-based services, or LBS has been a kind of a buzzword for the past 2-3 years, and actually even in the early 2000s, I think there was a lot of hype about the potential of these services. In the West, it typically means that you get up-to-date information about nearby restaurants and whatever concerts you might want to go and see in the town tonight. So it's location specific, and it's kind of personalized to your location. And I think the sort of fundamental thing that I want to convey today is that if you look at the notion of location-based services in a developing kind of a context, developing world context, I think we are looking at much more fundamental level needs and motivations to use these services. Just to give a little bit of background, so some of the some governments are not very transparent. I've been living in India for the past couple of years, and I know how difficult it is to understand what's happening. Why are they building something in my neighborhood? And I can't get information about the plans as to who's building and what and when in my surroundings. And the other thing is that sometimes the information doesn't even exist in a central kind of an instance. So let's say disease-based information, it takes about 2 months for the information that a malaria case has been registered in a primary level centers. So for that information to reach the central hospital and the state levels, there is a 1 to 2 month lag. And so what can we actually do to somehow maybe get rid of that lag and make it more real time? So that's exactly the sort of things that we are looking at. I think the image that the only image that I will show here is, how many of you recognize the picture? Okay, John, can. Okay, so it's a map of Soho 150 years ago. There was a very sort of a violent cholera epidemic ongoing in this part of London. A couple of hundred deaths reported, and this image or this map is actually an epidemiological milestone. So a physician called John Snow actually defied the common belief that cholera is transmitted through polluted air, and he had a theory that cholera is actually transmitted through contaminated water. And to be able to prove this hypothesis, he was first thinking about visualizing this on a table, and then he thought that he would actually start mapping the death cases on a map. And what he correlates with this map is he looks at the correlation between death cases and the location of diseased well or pump, water pump. And I've actually circled the pump that was indeed contaminated. It's in the center of the map, and it's called it's a pump that's located on Broad Street. By then actually talking to the officials and closing down the pump, the epidemic was actually eradicated, and that was used as a kind of an evidence towards the sort of like water hypothesis for cholera. That's 150 years ago, and my belief is that we have now come to a new kind of a paradigm shift in this type of information, because for the first time. We can actually sort of empower citizens and individuals in terms of collecting this kind of information, and not just citizens, but organizations and why not even the state officials, etc., etc. So I think there's something powerful in this notion of being able to record incidents, upload this information, and then a central server aggregating this information. And then I think importantly providing a kind of a feedback loop to the users themselves. I think a brilliant example was the Juliana, and when she talked about ushahidi.com, about citizens actually reporting cases of social unrest, and then this information would actually be visualized on a kind of a mapping software. We have a project that we call Comfort Zones, and we are investigating the notion of urban fear and what it means to be frightened in an urban context. And we've developed a very simple application which allows you to, with a simple key press, to post the kind of a perception of the place. So if you feel that the place is comfortable, you can actually press the green button, and a comfortable tag is uploaded to the server. And if you feel that the place is uncomfortable, you press the red button, and an uncomfortable tag is actually uploaded to the server side. And as a result, when a lot of people are using this service, we can actually have a kind of a aggregate of the opinions regarding the perceptions of the spatial aspects of the cities. And we have a trial ongoing at the moment in Bangalore, and it's been very interesting to look at what places are actually become tagged and how this whole system actually evolves. Another example that's sort of looking into this, I guess the power of location-specific information and mobility, is a project that we call Health Radar. And this is exactly going back to John Snow and his epidemiological practice. There is a very strong disconnect between the primary level health centers and the central level authorities, be it tertiary level hospital or be it the state, government, which is interested in following certain communicable diseases. So what we have actually done is a system which really allows you to use very simple tools. I mentioned IVRS. So we don't even force the paramedics to actually use a Nokia phone, but it could be a kind of a phone outside of the health center, which you are basically using to report cases of certain diseases that the government is interested in eradicating. And this information is centralized, and we are feeding it back to key medical authorities in hospitals, possibly health-related NGOs, and hopefully the government officials as well. So this is actually a project that we are going to launch the initial stage field trial in the time of the monsoon season in South India, and we hope to sort of learn more about the progress of the trial in the course of the year. So that concludes my introduction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jan.